up, the longs. Okay, that's why I put the 233 EMA here. I underneath. So if that may help you. And again, core direction is up. So am I looking to short premiums? I'm not going to answer that question. I'll let you answer it for yourself, right? Just understanding that, you know, when the moving averages are flattening out like this, right? This is the premium condition. This is discount condition. All right. And of course, you go to the CCI and you can actually see that, right? Premium, right? Discount. Pretty neat, huh? How that happens. But again, you can see it on the oscillator, but unless you have it in your head, what the you got to be able to recognize that the conditions have changed from aggressive up to more balancing.
Iraq's SOMO awards high sulfur.
Now the 13 EMA, right, is going to snake around.
All volumes will be sent via Syria. That's according to SOMO documents.
Why? Because that is the most sensitive EMA. So it's going to snake. The 13 EMA is really good when we're getting these breakout moves, directional moves, right? And so the, you know, as we saw here,
right, 85
on the up,
and a half.
What EMA is price riding? Right, it's riding the 13. It's only when price comes back down into the fair value zone here that we ended up getting a discount.
Iran International
did not get a
discount in the fields of information and communications technology.
These are the core concepts that you want to remember all the time, and they will guide you.
All right, internals are back up again. 5.5 to 1 positive on the 90 as we approach highs again. 6 to 1 positive on the Nasdaq. 10 years kind of flat. Don't we have a bond auction today? I've been watching out for those bond auction guys. I think that I
and
think
then you
that,
just got to be patient.
you want to see
for the conditions.
So I was here. Let me share this. I was looking at something on the bonds chart that I think is
you got to be
3 minutes.
like
Dallas Fed Services outlook for March.
Right.
Expecting a reading of -1 versus a prior.
Did everybody get the visual
the release timing of this is
via
not
Twitter and about our pillars of the PTG?
So we got this spike right to resistance.
Trading.
Saw some Archer news. Let's see what that was.
That was last April's spike when interest rates.
If you didn't,
were a problem.
Yeah. Let's see.
We traded right to that, and now.
Okay, hold on a second.
So just keep an eye on that, guys. The bonds traded right to resistance and then came off.
Okay, so AI provided me a beautiful.
Okay.
I've got it. I closed out that A4 strategy right there. I don't want it to be short. I'm just going to reset it.
And another one called
4-point loss on that one.
Toolbox matters. So take a look at those.
I'm going to reset it here, make sure we stay in alignment. Okay. Check. Got that. All right, couple ways to play this, guys. I think that if we can get above this small balance area, do we have time? We're coming into the end of that window. We want to see some extension here. At least I do. I want to see some extension here with strength and momentum.
All right, so review those when you have a chance, or stick them up on your screen, or
it's a nice follow through
with them.
All right, I'm looking for this to fail right here. Watching Microsoft sell a little bit, Meta.
Just keep thinking, I want to buy discount. I want to sell premium
Advanced
in
declines
direction.
are still trying.
I want to. Yeah. Where's the discount?
Declines can roll back down to like 1500.
Again, you can still use,
then
you know, the pivots, right?
happens?
The low, the
Market
previous low
reacts, or
bars.
the feeling that Microsoft might go for its
Right.
gap fill here.
A little mini
If
You
it
know,
does, then I'm
PKB.
watching
dynamic
Minus
peak.
the rest of the mags if
13.3.
they start
For the DEX,
coming
for
off
the
as
Dallas
well.
Fed Services Index, minus
I want to be short.
13.3.
I think-
versus
I think one of the tricks
minus
that you
1
have
expect-
to do for all of us, myself included, that you keep reminding yourself.
According to Russian envoy, Iran's appearance.
Like, to look here. Create like an audible reminder. If needed. Be surprised how often that can help. Again, kind of stimulates your mind to look for a
What are we
particular.
running into here? 64.45. Do I have a resistance here?
Pattern,
Oh shit. Excuse me.
because it's easy.
For sure.
It's so easy to drift, isn't it?
Oh my god, how did I miss that?
You're sitting here,
Hey,
then you start
did I
just,
Oh,
there's no
yeah,
trade on right
shit.
now. Okay, I'm gonna go take a look at X.
Yeah.
Let's
Guys,
see what
check out
anybody
setup
is doing
number.
there on X.
Oh shit. I don't know how I missed it.
Just
Hey
gotta
guys, look at
peruse
setup number
what's
4
going on
posted earlier.
X.
Let me just repost it here.
And then all of
I
a sudden, my
completely
mind drifts away
missed
from
that.
the
So
trading
focused
screen
on
to
the
what's
upside,
happening on X.
and
Hmm.
there's a
All of a sudden,
significant
you're out of the
resistance
flow.
here. Let me
You've
dig
just
into
broken-
that level. 64.45. There's a fib cluster.
Whatever flow
Right.
state that you were in.
Crap. Let me see what else.
The only way to stay in a flow state
It had to be
is
more
to
than one.
maintain vigilance and
Let's see.
mindfulness of staying in the flow state. What am I looking for next? Where would I
wonder price
potentially
stopped.
take a trade next?
This is a significant
Where
level,
is the
guys.
current pivot structure?
64.45. So conversely, if we do get above this, we can scoot. There's an air pocket above this. If we get above 64.85
What's my
to
position sizing?
64, what is the level? Dang it. Man, my bad, guys. I should have been a little bit more objective in going by the plan. 64.90, right? If we can get so if we can get above there,
Is
we're going to
this a
scoot
valid
higher
trade to take?
because there's an air pocket. The ATA, the CCI ATA
Is it
strategy
based on my
just took
rules
that
of
long for
engagement?
me. I don't know if you guys see in the left-hand screen, and it's got its first target out, and then it just hit the trail.
Now
But
the main wires reporting.
64.45. Sorry, it's
says they will
SPX
target US
64.45,
companies in the
which
region
is
as of April the 1st
64.85 to
in retaliation for
64.90
attacks on
on the
Iran.
ES.
So
That
Iran's
level matters.
Revolutionary Guard says they will target U.S. companies
gonna
in
show
the
you
region
why
as of
in a
April the
moment.
1st in
I can get it
retaliation
up
for
here.
attacks on Iran. We earlier saw them saying that they would attack American AI and IT companies in the region.
especially when we have a negative gamma, right? When we have a negative gamma, I mean, these levels are going to fade and we can whipsaw, right? 10, 20 points up and down and still move higher. So I'll show you why that level is important.
More from Press TV in Iran.
get this
They say
chart
the
up here.
RHSC issued a warning against 18 American tech companies,
Monitor this position.
including Microsoft, Apple, Google, Intel,
The
and
high
Boeing.
is not in though yet. I'm sticking with it. Okay. All right. So look, check this out. That's why 60. This is why SP 6485 to 90 matter on ES. So 6485. Let me just make sure I have that right.
According to the IRGC
6485 to 90 on
employees and
ES.
nearby residents of these
When you subtract
American
fair
firms
value
within
is
one
All right, so we're
kilometer
just kind of in the
6445.
balancing phase at this
On
stage.
that strikes begin
SPX.
at 8 p.m. on
What
April
we have a
1st.
6445
opening
guys
range,
is this, right?
Again, just to
We
quickly
have
review that
this
there, we
little
still are
low
long
volume
off
notch
opening
right
range
here.
trades, and
And then
stops
we
are in
have
place
these
at
calls.
break even
See how this is
on the
seemingly there are
ESNQ,
no calls down here. Then we have this little bump here.
and the crude
Yeah, I'm
oil
thinking
again
that
has been
that's
stopped
some
up.
type of condor or some type of spread. But if we can break above this 6445, that easily brings us to the gap fill, right up here. I knew that level was important.
Okay, that will do it here for the recording. We're at the initial balance time slot. And we'll stop the recording here for the session. And again, the market's right here, just somewhat in a balancing phase.
All right, so stay alert for
as
that,
you can
guys.
see. And there's no further trades except for those
Needless to
opening
say,
trades
I
around the
didn't
board.
fade it. I'm not going to fade it
And,
because
we'll update those a bit later.
I was long.
All right, so we're going to stop the.
So what I did was I had one
we got
runner
about an hour
long.
and 20 minutes on this
I
recording
was
for
I had
today.
two. I trailed
And I'll
out when
upload
we
this. I'll
broke
render
below
this, get this
80s
uploaded
at
to
78.
the website.
It dipped to
as soon as we
76,
can.
and then it bounced right back up. So I took one off there, and then
All right,
right
so have a
now
good
when I
day
realized that we were running
For everybody
into
that's
my counter
watching the
trend,
replay,
my
and we'll come back tomorrow with another
resistance
one.
sell setup, I closed the position.
Okay, so that's
So
how
that
I'm going to
was
be kind of
I think
ending
it was like 11
each day.
point.
I'm just
So
going to
it was
be
at
kind of like
71.
signing off
That
for
was a
those that are
71 ad. I think I got like
watching
9
it.
points
So
on it.
I'm not off the mic here or anything. It's just that's the way I'm.
But I'm happy to take a graceful exit there. Super,
Gotta run the
nicely green that
production,
account.
folks.
I don't want to. Stuck
Not
to the
easy.
plan. I executed that trade. I took it off as soon as I saw there was danger, or as soon as it went. Some of the other work I had done, no thinking, just closed it. So now what's next?
Okay, produce. There we go.
Dang, I can't believe I missed that.
Capture.
That sucks.
Okay, this is what I didn't do yesterday. Got it. All right, one
Okay.
sec.
Okay, oil's retesting its open.
So
Yeah.
three,
Its pivot is 103.30.
31.26. All right. Rendering the
And all that
project.
means
all right, good.
for me
That's
is
what
that
didn't do
I should
yesterday
have. So I had taken profit
correctly.
off at.
I got it
think
still to
had
work.
one,
but-
got one off at 92. But what this means for me is just that I don't want to hold a position.
exactly.
I mean, maybe we
Cheap
do
cooking
break it.
bottle
Look at the
washer,
internals,
Jay.
Right?
You got it.
The internals have stayed solid. Maybe we do break it
All
up,
right,
but
I
I don't want to
know.
be in a position while that stuff sorts itself out, right? Especially if I have some
Honestly, it's hard to trade, talk,
slightly
and
green
do
in
all
that,
this stuff.
and,
It really is.
and even
It
worse
really
if I was
is.
down in that
it's
trade
just-
and close it out. Reboot.
I try to automate it as much as
reassess,
I possibly can, but it's even
close
with
it down
automation,
and rethink the
you gotta-
situation. So we might
automation
break
still
higher
requires
here,
you to pay attention.
right? Maybe this is it's gonna take several passes
It's not a
to chew through
replacement.
that
It can
supply.
help.
But I don't
But
want to
yeah,
sit around and wait
so
for that.
I appreciate
Right?
everybody's
I want the low hanging
support for the PTG
Give me a
project.
good momentum trade and
I
get
like
me
to
out
call
of
it
here.
the PTG project now. It's like the Alan Parsons project. The band. It's like this is the
And what do
PTG
you
project.
like? So, what do you guys think in terms of like? Do you guys earmark a certain amount of money that you like? All right,
Good
if I
name for
hit
it?
X amount
PTG
of
project.
points,
Yeah.
I-
Maybe we'll change the
I'd be
name from
good for the
Flash Radio
day,
to the PTG
or
project.
something of that nature. Like, is there a point that
You know,
that you're
interesting.
green
That
enough for the
was
day
actually a
or red enough for
consideration
the day that you
name
just call
back
it
when
and
I
walk away?
originally back in 2013, late 2012.
Certainly
into
on the red
2013
side,
when
you
we were-
got to do that.
when I was
Yeah.
setting
So,
this up,
so interestingly enough, for
Gotta
me,
the
I'm
PTG
another day.
project.
on the red side.
And
It's
it was
kind
really
of like
just
a
from
feeling
the-
thing, right? Once like if I take
the
too long,
Alan
like
Parsons
typically it's like
project
if I have back-to-back losses, especially
band
back-to-back losses, I kind of feel beat up, right? I feel like I didn't I didn't execute well, or I had a shit plan, and at that point I'm kind of in my own head, and I know that I'll walk away, especially if it's early in the day, like early enough right now. Say that I was in that mindset right now. I just took back losses, and I was feeling kind of shitty about it. I'll leave and I'll try with the intention of, hey, maybe if I leave early enough, right? If I don't cause too much damage, don't go until maybe I can come back this afternoon. But I need to clear my head first.
I am going to take a break and get some refreshments.
That's what I call
It is
stop.
already
Generated years and years and years
outside,
ago that
it's,
works really well for me. Stop loss protocol is basically if I hit a stop, like what I just described, if I
getting
feel
warmer and
shitty
warmer
about
now.
it, I step away
Spring
from the
has definitely
screen for a
sprung
minimum
here
of 10
quickly.
minutes. And
I
that
know in
doesn't
some
mean
areas of the
go
country it's
outside
still
and look
very
at
much
price on my
winter
phone. That means completely
further
break the
north,
plane of
but
view.
around here it's starting to
Oh,
you
this
know,
is
change my
painfully slow
environment.
today.
took
kind of
delivery of
reset my
gravel
brain
in my
mentally, maybe
driveway.
do a little breathing exercise.
Yesterday
And I was big into
afternoon,
meditating for a long time, and I used to employ that. I don't do it as much anymore. I don't
The
practice
winter
that
just
much
ruins your
anymore.
driveway.
But
I'll move up and then just kind of stop.
I find that I've gotten great results from that type of approach.
So I had to
And there have been
reconstitute
more
that.
days that I've
I
stepped
love doing
away
outside work.
and came back and clawed a big piece of that back, and many days gone green. And that also
Good
has,
honest work, as they say.
I was
All right,
I'm
keep it
helping-
go-
I'm
keep it
coaching a
flowing.
buddy of
If
mine
you have
who's trying to
comments,
trade now, and he
postings,
keeps
whatever
having
you'd
tilt
like.
days.
All right, I'm gonna
Like he's basically having a
just
tilt
jump
day
off
like
here,
3 times a week.
temporarily take a break, grab some refreshments, and be back in a few
And I keep and I'll tell him, hey, this is you have to step up, you have to step away. All right, coming back in now, guys. Shit, if I would have seen that if I would have been alert to that resistance with the AM high, I might have tried some there. All right, but let's talk about it, right? So if I was going to get short, where would I get short right now? Man, the place to get short on this for me would have been right here on this candle right here. So that candle closed at roughly 64.77 quarter. I would have sold that right there. Put my high right up here and see if because we just got the so it kind of makes sense, right? We got the retest. We came up here strong off the open, retested it. It failed to get momentum and follow through. We kept getting lower lows here, right? And then we got the breakdown. So now hindsight is 2020, but where would I go get in now? Well, if we get a test back up here, if we get a quick spike back up here into this zone, 64.85. $64.82, 83, maybe. Let's see what that would look like. Just draw it out. So that would mean that we came down here, right? And we bounced up, and then I'm looking for this kind of move down. And then for that move to work, I have to get through all of this, right? So then pragmatically, my target on this move would be the VWAP 64.55. So if I'm entering at 64.82, I have plenty of room to that target. And that's not a bad idea. Kind of like that idea, especially since I have the AM high behind me. I'm looking for a low into 11.
Yeah, if you get the chance, if you get the chance, you might not get the chance on this one. For me, it sort of needs to hold this level here, 65. I'm short 84 3/4. I've got one bid at 39 3/4 and one bid at 09 3/4.
Huh. Look at that. Hey guys, pay attention here, right? So when we opened, we had 7 sectors positive, only 3 were negative. Since the open, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sectors positive, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sectors negative, 1 sector neutral. All right. We have the VIX coming up to test its early 5-minute high, its range high. If the VIX starts to get into that gap, right? Let's just talk about this. So if the VIX breaks above 28.20 and crude gets above 104.10, that would put the VIX right back in its gap. I bet you that brings ES down into that lower distribution. All right, so let's stay patient here, guys, right? Something of quality will materialize. It always does.
Advanced declines down to 1,300 now. So I was saying, watch it if it gets to 1,500 and see how, if the market responds and what it might do here.
God dang it, man. I can't believe I missed that resistance sell. I'm not sure I would have taken the sell with internals like that, but I should have known. I should have been alert enough to know that we were getting there, right?
Yeah.
What's the point of doing all the work and then you just, I don't know. I'm still getting used to this this streaming stuff. I would have definitely been on that if I was like 100% dialed in. That's all right. No harm, no foul. We didn't get hurt. Hopefully, you guys didn't get hurt on that, and maybe some of you got short. Hopefully, you got short. I know Bo got short. He's doing great on. What do you have, Bo? 84s?
84 3/4.
Nice.
I mean, we should get a little stop run down through the opening print, but sometimes they like to hold it above. So the fact that NQ is still holding up okay here, you know, it's probably worth trying to buy one of these here at the open. So I'm going to go ahead and do that if I can.
Brokers
Hey
reporting
guys,
that
remember,
CME open interest data for the
remember
Treasury
in the
futures
opening
shows traders added
analysis,
positions in the
right? What
5-year
were we
note
looking?
contracts
What
for
did
the
we
first
not want
time
to see?
since March 17th.
We didn't want to see. Because
following 8
remember,
consecutive
last week,
sessions of
right?
deleveraging in the
We
10th.
Sorry, go ahead.
They say positions were also added into the front end of the strip
Keep going.
into Monday's rally.
Last week I highlighted that on multiple days the context was early morning strength, following to midday, late day weakness, right? And on those days, price needed to reclaim the prior day's high, the prior day's low, and also get into value, and we were unable to do that. I said that if we come back into what we don't want to see is that price comes up, right,
here.
gets above, and then comes right back into range. We don't want to see it come back into yesterday's range, because then that kind of puts this look on deck, right? That where we came up, look above and fail, and now we're going to get something like this where we come back up here, and then it's continuation to the downside. If price rotates back into yesterday's range and starts showing acceptance there, that is not bullish. That would suggest that the market was rejected from higher prices and is accepting lower prices and is seeking to auction lower. So the hourly is, this is a 2-hour chart. Let's just go to the smaller time frame at a 60-minute. I'm almost certain we wicked there. We wicked on the 2-hour. We're going to wick on the 4-hour. What's that going to read like, at the end of the day? That's going to read like a selling tail. Okay. I think that bear's first need is that minor pivot from the overnight session at 64.20. Let me see. How do I enter this? Well, what time is it? I still have some time here, but this move is gone. So this is not going to be something I participate in unless the ATA strategies pick it up for me. No, the ATAs are not. Maybe the A4 gets me in and gets me a good little scalp out of this move. Other than that, I'm not going to point and click at anything. Not until I have not until this move kind of exercises, it works itself out.
Here's Microsoft on its low. See if it can close the gap. I just have one left. I'm bidding 39 3/4. I'd like to see that print here in the next minute or two.
Ooh, and look, guys, we're back below the open. Back below the open. Internals have been halved. So we were at a NYSE was 6-1 positive at one point, over 6-1 positive. We're now 3-1 positive. So definitely a rejection of higher prices. Price could not develop a sustained value. It tried and it attempted it for what? Let's see, 9:30 to 10:30, an hour. It tried to develop.
Here comes the sweep on the NQ. So look for them to just sweep through the stops below the low. And I'm trying to buy into that. If it happens in NQ, I should see that 39 print.
Price looking to test the initial balance low at 64.50. If it breaks below 64.20, that overnight micro pivot we're gonna see. We could see a waterfall event here, guys. We're gonna correct that overnight inventory. They're gonna all those guys are gonna get liquidated. We're coming into VWAP at 64.48. The 24-hour VWAP is 64.56. We're below that. Maybe this little the test of the initial balance low gets us a little pop for an entry. At this point, I'd be a seller at 64.70 to 64.75.
Need the NQ to sweep here.
Yep, good eye, Jerry Morrow. Yep, that's what we said. Prices. Dang, did I say 110? I said 104. Yep. And where's
Al
the
Jazeera
VIX?
quoting the Iranian army saying we
VIX is
targeted
over that
industries
early
belonging to
5-minute
Siemens
high,
and
so
telecom in the
It's
Ben
exactly
Gurion
as
and
we
Haifa
highlighted,
areas.
guys. The conditions here. Here's the VIX right here in this little center chart, right under my name. It popped over its early 5-minute high, and we have oil above that 104 micro pivot on its way to test 105. At this point, we look for the VIX to test 29.25. Our weighted AD is now gone negative. Womp womp. Womp womp. Bulls have been rejected again, right? I mean, we'll see, right? All it takes is one Jamie Dimon phone call, and this is like off to the moons. But
I covered it
Well,
at
we were
50
rolling
and
up at 11 o'clock.
3/4,
11 o'clock, I'm going to do those studies, and then I'm going to.
mostly because I just passed
Right.
that account. So
I'm disappointed in how this actually
just
is.
wanted to
Guys,
kind
I
of
still
get
think
out and get
on
done
this
on that.
afternoon. But
I
as
hit
I
my
said,
daily loss limits on 2 other accounts earlier, trying to screw around with the long without planning very well on it. But I had a pretty good conviction on that short. Thanks, Niels. Appreciate it, buddy. Now you got to be careful, because if the NQ holds the open, now this is what I like to say is,
OPEC oil output falls 7.3 million barrels per day
if they
in
had
March
cash
from
to
February,
put to use
the lowest
here,
since June 2020,
and you get
according to a
this
Reuters survey.
opening
So
thrust
OPEC
to the
oil
upside,
output falls 7.3
usually
million barrels a day
if
in March from
price
February.
retests the
It's
open,
lowest since June
it can be
2020.
just another really good buying opportunity. And a lot of times they haven't executed enough of their buying needs, right? So like they've turned the buy programs on, they push it up, then they turn the buy programs off and wait. And then when they get back to the opening price, it's like, hey, if they have more to buy, you can look for a good reaction here. And you can use a tight stop. And if it goes blasting right through, then, you know, that's a good indication that we might actually truly reverse and go lower on the day. But if they hold it, it's also a really good opportunity on long. So this is one that I think is very tricky, and you got to be ready for sort of that two-way action to come back in. If we're overly married to our shorts this far off the high, you know, you can really get yourself in trouble thinking that you're going to get the same kind of follow through that we've had for the last several weeks, which, you know, it's like at some point this stuff starts to rally again. And I don't know, just some food for thought there. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they don't hold the open here on the NQ and just rip them right back up to new highs on the day. So
I guess I gotta shut this. Get a lot of noise out here.
Right? I mean, Neil, so I think one of the easiest things to do with
US
holding
Treasury
winners
sells 80 billion in
is
4-week bills,
just simply use the
75
1
billion
minute
in
chart,
8-week
because
bills, and
if
69
you
billion
have
in
a sell
17-week
program
bills.
like we just had, you know, look at how easy it is to just trail your stop.
The
And
4-week bills and
usually
the
if I
8-week
trail
bills are
it too
5
tight,
billion
I
less
just
than
get shaken
estimates
out,
and
right?
less
But
than
like,
last week.
I don't know, sometimes you get a buy or a sell program and it's just nice and smooth price action, kind of like we had. You know what, you get one little green bar up there and then it fails again. And so I think the way to try to protect your profit and to try to hold longer is
US Treasury
is
has now
either
cut its
two
4-week
things,
bill
either
issuance for
one,
the 4th week in a row.
understand like, well, you know, do you want to sit at the screen the rest of the day? Like, so as I come into sort of the going into the lunch hour, to me, that's a great time to try to put on a position, have a winner, and then put in an OCO and walk away for like the rest of the day, because I don't trade well in the afternoons. And that's something I've just learned over the years. I get sucked into the chop, I give it back, I get emotional, and it costs me money. And so, but these morning moves, I mean, this is exactly what price discovery is all about. And it's sort of just driven by these buy and sell programs. And so it's like whoever, wherever gets to that point where they need to rebalance some of their portfolio, the price action to me with algos and HFTs just suggests that they buy the highs and they sell the lows. So in a buy program, they just keep buy stopping every 1 minute bar. They just keep buy stopping until their order is sort of filled, until their book is and positioning is filled, and then it stops, and that's when you see the little profit taking correction. And so I guess it's a tricky thing to describe, but it sort of, to me, feels mostly like when the price action and the charts present in a very smooth manner, that's when sometimes on these early morning trades, you can just have your stop trail on each 1 minute bar. And you know, if they're really buying this thing, if they come in right here on a buy program, they shouldn't violate the low of this little 1 minute bar, right? It should just keep ripping. So then anyway, that's like one way that you can do it, instead of,
President Trump
you
has
know,
told
instead
the
of
New
getting
York
out
Post
too soon,
that
just
the war against
on
Iran
your
will not
runner,
last
just
much
try
longer,
to like,
and the Strait
you're
of
sort of
Hormuz
trying to
will
get
automatically
lucky, right,
open
with the
once the
price
US
action.
leave.
And sometimes you get unlucky and you get shaken out. But I kind of
Me
look at
okay?
trading a lot that way, where it's,
Check one.
yeah, we all have our setups and everything
All right, listen, I
else,
just want
but
to, again, I posted up there in the
where
room.
you want to
right?
get lucky is with
You
the
ought to be
runner.
paying
And
attention.
Trump
If you're
says,
not,
that's the
the
difference
Strait
in
of
my
Hormuz will
trading,
open.
because
crude
My
oil.
attitude is I obliterated the
Okay,
country.
essentially
no
my
strength left.
setups are
This is
And let the country
50-50
the way I've
lose in the
overlaid
Strait of
this. I
Hormuz,
have
go on.
ES up top here,
and by chopping out of
right, and I have crude
one
oil
or
down
two
below here.
units in the noise,
And you can clearly
of
see this is a
profit,
mirror
those
image.
1 or 2 units pay for the full losers that I take.
All right.
And
This is
then
clearly
I
a
only
mirror
need
image.
like
So
basically 3 or 4 good
this is what I'm
runners
talking about in
to
terms
have a
of, you
decent
know,
month trading, you know,
really paying
especially
close
in this
attention
kind
to
of
the intermarket relationship. I was
environment.
mentioning the other
So
day that
a one
you know,
lot
crude
that
oil
The
runs
has an,
IRGC have
80
an
published a
points,
list of
negative
you know,
correlation.
US and Israeli
there's your 3 or
companies that
4
yes,
grand, and
are a legitimate target.
you
Crude oil has a
just let it
negative correlation.
We
that,
posted a
and
link to this
then
on our
Right,
newsfeed.
so
if
this is
you
just a 1 minute.
the rest of the
intraday.
time you're washing out your winners and
And
lose
here,
10 or 15
right,
grand
on this
for the month.
rally, well, you're seeing, again,
and,
crude oil,
and that's
so you're balancing
probabilities
the
and,
pivot
and
here,
statistics
and
of
starts
what
rallying.
my setups
What does
look
ES
like.
do? Breaks that pivot and start selling off. Pretty clear, no, right? Even going into today, you know, the RT8 session, right? You can see ES selling off, crude oil had rallied. Okay, so again, this is something that you, if you're not paying attention to, you ought to be paying attention.
And one thing, like, to be careful
I have this
is,
on another screen.
yeah, look at, I was
or
thinking I'd
whatever.
get a
And again,
sweep
the
down
idea
to the
is, you know,
39s.
once it's breaking, you know, levels,
So if I didn't
right,
take
again,
that
you were saying,
profit
well,
somewhere,
does that
you know,
correspond
I
to a
looked at it
particular
as,
level,
okay, we just had a
you know,
move
in the
from
ES
94
that I need
to
to be paying attention to?
all the way down to 49
Of course,
in,
the answer is
what,
going to
you know,
be,
like 30 minutes. That's a really
you know,
good
a
move.
high correlated,
So,
yes.
you know, to get overly
All right.
greedy about it.
Now,
you know,
again, it's
sort
not
of like,
tick
yeah,
for
okay, maybe
tick.
you get 80 or 100
No
points out
correlation
of
is
it,
tick
but
for tick.
man, you know, as things start
Rather,
to settle down and we stop
you'll see
having this
directional
huge volatility,
influence,
you know, you need to take advantage
right?
of
But
a
it's not
50-point
necessarily
move
going to be
and
tick
not let it
for
get
tick.
away from you. Because look at
Questions,
this.
comments on this?
In the old days,
Right.
I would have been shorting into
I mean,
this
this
rally
is very,
the
very
whole way
important.
up, adding to now my losing trade and completely
Pay attention
ruining
to
the
what's
good trade that I
driving
had and turning it into a horrible loser.
market.
That's what I would have been doing in the old days. So I think there's a really good discipline to when you get flat a position, you know, that's also a good time to go walk around the block or go cook some breakfast or something, because you want to see why is it that you got flat,
prosperity.
you know, like why is it that I
all right, I'm just going to move that down
out
back
there
to my
at
other
50
screen.
3/4.
Like
I was getting
attention.
nervous
Again,
about it, right?
be
So
paying
the rest
attention
of the
to what,
market was getting nervous
you know,
about
is driving
it too.
price action here,
And
that's clearly
sometimes that stuff
being
just
the case
plays
here.
out
Crude oil,
exactly.
yes, negative
You know,
correlation.
so
all right, I'm going back to sleep.
Try to learn from what that price action is and not be immediately jumping into the next trade or overly married to your position. Like, I was sort of bullish on the day, right? But that didn't mean I couldn't take a short and have a good profit. And now I don't want to be short. You know, this thing starts going higher again, it's got legs. And how many times do how much time do people need up here to sell oil at 105, 106, 107? I mean, it doesn't mean it can't go back up to 120 or go through and go to 150 or whatever, but you're going to see that happen really quickly if it does happen. So I don't think it's terrible to be trying to play the other side of these ranges right now, because the risk reward has gotten a little bit offsides, in my opinion. Again, the way it was offsides when oil was $55 and the S&P was 7,000. You know, so there are times and there are inflection points, I think, in the market where you can just kind of say on a broad stroke, like, hey, this has gone too far, too fast, and the risk reward is not there the way it used to be. So, like, for me, that's sort of reminding myself my basic principle for above the open, be thinking long, you know, and if my moving averages are sloping up, then be thinking long. And they may be, the big players may be thinking here that we've now got a tradable bottom. It wasn't quite capitulatory, but if you look back at the volume on all of this stuff, over the last month, I mean, was below. The last day that was below 1.5 million contracts was February 26th. We hit 2.27 million contracts on March 13th. We hit another 2 million contracts on March 23rd. Yesterday we did 1.7 million. Friday we did 1.8 million. It's all pretty much above average volume if you're looking at the 200-day average volume in the ES. So I don't know. I'm thinking we're gonna get like a reasonable bounce here, and once we reclaim that 65.25 level, what have we done? All we did was dip down through the range slightly, and now we're back in this huge broad range. You know, they could just completely start turning on the buy programs again and putting this cash back to work, because where else are you going to put your cash now? You know, you've got to put it somewhere. Anyway, I don't mean to be lecturing. Cash is trash. Right? I mean, if you're playing the inflation side, then you should own assets, right? So we should be buying some of these things that have gotten really beat up and play them for a longer term.
Ukraine Zelensky will hold a phone call with the U.S. negotiating team on April the 1st. Says
Look at
Ukraine
the
seeks an
advanced
Easter
declines
ceasefire and
recovered,
hopes the U.S. supports it.
Total V shape down to 1100 now, all the way back to almost 1600 again. So, you know, let's see if the advanced declines can lead us to, you know, like a 10-to-1 upside day, where then they start looking at this thing as a real bottom that they can trade off of. And probably need to see NVIDIA back above 175 or something like that.
Hey guys, real quick. So one of the things that we highlighted earlier in the day was, all right, do we go above yesterday's high? Do we get above the overnight high? Do we stay and develop value? Well, look at what price just did, right? It came down, it tested the initial balance low, it tested value area high, and it immediately rallied 20 points. So that's the kind of rejection from prior days range and value that would kind of get us to think, hey, we're going to see higher prices here, right? That's what we've been seeing on the last week. As I highlighted, we saw that Thursday, we saw that Monday, where we were except it was the opposite, right? We would go test into the prior day's range and value and immediately get rejected. We just did that on the lower side. So stay alert here. I am not selling those 76s. I think that we just worked off that supply at that 64, 85 to 90 range. Let's see what happens here on the retest. Again, there is an air pocket above this. I showed you guys on the flows chart.
Yep.
Target still remains the same, 65.15 gap fill. For an hourly change, we need 65.70, 65.60, I would think, somewhere in that area. Stay long. I mean, well, I'm staying on the long side.
Yeah, structure is long.
And just be, and we can just be patient here, right? We, like Bo said, we really just, we don't want to mess up a good day with tomfoolery. There's at least for myself, right? I'm a little bit more of an analytical trader. I like to frame out my idea and then kind of see if it makes sense to me, in hindsight. Like, all right, if I took this trade, and I look back on it, would it make sense if I'm reviewing it at the end of the day, knowing that I didn't know what was going to come next, but knowing what I was thinking up until that point? I like to know, and then that kind of softens the blow. Any loss, it's just another day at the office. It's not really imbued with this sense of negativity.
Right.
And again, and also, we don't want to overthink things. I think if you tend to be too analytical, then you won't get anything done. There comes a certain point where you just have to say screw it and just take the trade. But I early in my trading career, I had a big problem with impulsive trades, and so this is the trade I developed into.
I'm showing now my Mag 7 screen. So I have the advanced declines here on a 1 minute, and then the rest of these are 15-minute Mag 7. And what I wanted to point out is, again, the fear index and the amount of bearish sentiment on Friday afternoon and yesterday as well. It really hit pretty bad, pretty big extremes on the bearish side. And then this morning, what do we get? We get this, this reversal gap up rally, and then everything on the Mag 7 essentially gapped up and then followed through. And we have one, chart here in Microsoft that tried to sweep the lows, and I thought maybe they could still get aggressive and try to fill that gap. But if it doesn't, then look at what we have in the indices, right? So if I pull up my 15-minute chart on the ES, what I want to show is they were practically, they were throwing them away down here into the Friday close and pretty hard through yesterday afternoon. And then when they gap up, like if I'm using my ATR box here, well, what if we don't make an effort at this gap? This could go for a long time as an unfilled gap. So what I'm going to do is, let's assume the low for the day is in. And if you take that low and use this as your indicator for what the range could be on the day, look at that. We can run stops and clear all the way up to 65.70, and we might not stop there if they decide to really get aggressive. That ATR is 120 points, but what if we expand back out to 150 or 180 points? I mean, there's plenty of stops up here to target. And so when the positioning goes the other way, it can go really hard. And if we were gonna, like exactly what Manny was saying too, if we were gonna make an attempt back to the downside,
Dan, are you still here?
we should have gone
T-Bone?
through some of these levels.
I don't know who else was here. I hate this.
You know,
I can't
and the
see
sellers
something.
just weren't there. So
you guys,
you know,
usually
I would
respond.
not be
You guys
short
are
this
there,
market right now.
and you hear me.
And that's coming from somebody that's sort of constantly on the short side.
I'm going to look at tomorrow and Friday. I mean, Thursday. That's Good Friday. Let's see. I got to go here and grab this. I think that's what I was going to look at with you guys. Event day, But I was doing this in the SPX, because I did that. Go here, go SPX. This is part of the new files I'm building right there, SPX.
That's partly why I keep that
Here.
Mag 7 screen up. I actually put the heat map on a third of my screen, and then the Mag 7 on 2/3 of my right screen, and I have that stuff. I'm just watching that constantly to try and get a feel for if something's leading us for the day. I mean, obviously oil, but
Come on, open.
you know, they really hit Meta hard, and they've hit Microsoft. All these things are down so much, you know, it's like, doesn't mean that they aren't dead cat bounces, but I don't know, how much do you really need to be selling them down here? So I really like the idea that the NQ will outperform the RTY in the next couple months. And, you know, I think that that's a pretty reasonable spread to put on if you kind of like trading that way. You're long NQ, short RTY. You might lose money on the short, but I don't know, relatively
So here we are.
speaking,
Let's look at this.
it's-
Let's see what I was going to look at here.
I think that there's room for the RTY to catch up if
Hey,
they keep selling that thing.
I'm
But I think
This
that we're pretty
is
near the
Thursday.
low in terms of these
Thursday.
bigger
So
indices.
this is I let me see if I had this checked as Good Friday or the third day of the month. No, the second day of the month. The second day of the month. I think. Yeah, I put this in as the. Let's go right here. Yeah, this is the second day of April.
Got a nice reversal
Second day
signal here on the
April.
crude.
When it's a Thursday. Okay. So the second day of
Sure,
April
yeah.
when it's a Thursday. Oh, come on. Go here.
On the 1 minute
Second day
chart.
of April when it's Thursday has been up 5 times and down 2. That's not looking at as Good Friday. That's just, you following me there? So
Again, this test
second
up
day of
into
April
this
as a Thursday, it's been
overnight
up 5 down
range.
2.
And now you
The
have
interesting
what looks
thing
like
is-
a really
is,
nice head and shoulders
let's see if
pattern,
there's a correlation
especially
here.
with the right shoulder
When
lower than the left
Wednesday was
shoulder.
an up
It's
day,
one of my favorite looking formations.
not
It
really a
doesn't mean it's
correlation.
gonna work, but
But
you know,
it
you
was
could
up
hit the bid
5,
right here
down to
and have a
71% up
you know
when it's the
40 or
second day
50 cent stop
of
on
April.
it,
But
and
now,
your
let's go here
downside
and close this out,
potential is basically $6.
because
So
here's
you're
the
basically
interesting
trying to see if they run back
thing. And
down
we'll look at
through the
first day of
figure
April in a second.
and just take out a bunch of sell stops along the way.
Because as long as we're on that second day, because I did something else. I put in Good Friday.
You're looking at the sheet
Because Good
on
Friday,
it.
the day before Good Friday, which is Thursday, which
You
is
can pick levels off of this
the
sheet
second
as
day of
well.
April. So
if
we
there
got
are
here, 'cause
any.
I added that yesterday. So day before
Again,
Good Friday. Here's the
103.30
day before Good
being the
Friday,
pivot.
which
That's
is going to
kind
be
of the
equal to
big
Thursday.
level.
But
So
I only
if
have
you
this
have a
since
bunch of
2000.
people right now thinking, oh, it held
That's
the
still quite a
pivot
few.
and now it's
16 of them or something.
okay to be
Yeah,
long,
18.
and they're long here and they have their
So,
stops below the pivot,
18 Good Fridays.
or they have their stops also
Here's the
below
thing
the
about
open
Good
again.
Friday.
And you know, so that those are the people that are going to be panicking if it really goes down hard.
Second.
But yeah, just formulating different concepts in your brain about levels
Here
and
we
what
go. Good Friday
You
has been
wanna
up
see the
77% of the
price
time
do
and
when
down
it
22% of the
tests
time.
you know,
The
does
day
it go
before
right
Good Friday,
through, or
the
does
day
it
before Good
hold, or
Friday
does
has
it,
been up 77 down 22, and you
you
can
know,
see
does
that
it
other
go
one
through
when
and fail, the
on
look
the
below
on
and
the
fail stuff
second
that
day of the month,
Manny
which
and
is
a
on
lot of
Thursday.
you guys are really good
It's
at.
up. When I say 71% of the time, so we have
And when
it's
I'm
pretty
trading
strong
better,
likelihood, I
it's
think that this is going to
it's
be
when
an up
I'm
day.
watching those levels and just giving myself an extra
Pretty
minute or
strong
two to
likelihood that it's
see
going to be an up day.
how that price reacts at that
And
level,
let's see if we
instead
do
of,
this. We'll do something else
you
here
know,
real quick.
like this morning,
If that
the
that's
losing trades
April,
I had were
there's the Thursday before
trying to
Good
jump in
Friday.
and pick that spot
Let's look at
before
the date.
the price
The date is
discovery
the
kind of
second.
took care of itself. You know,
We only
it's
have one
like,
date on the second.
it's like catching a falling knife on a
That is
10
one date on the
second
second.
time
It
frame
was
with
the second.
super driven AI
Come on.
algo HFT nonsense. Like you're gonna get
When it was
in, and they're gonna
second,
immediately sweep your stop
it was
when
an
you're
up day.
using tight stops the way I do.
I think there's a
So
strong likelihood that
if
Thursday is
you
going to be
let
an
that
update.
price
anyway.
come to the
That's
level
what
you're
we're
watching,
looking for.
then you can like maybe
So
find a way to enter with
we'll go
a
from there.
little bit more
And
structure
now,
on
real
the
quickly, I'll look at
actual,
the first day. So I think it's probably 75,
on the way the price is behaving,
77%
right?
of an up day Thursday. And
Like right
let's see
here
if we get any
in
correlations
crude,
here.
instead of
I don't see any
necessarily
correlation there.
like
Down,
taking
up,
it
down,
where
up.
I was saying you could take
Wait,
it.
let's go look at
Well,
the
that's where all the
first day of
stops
the
are,
month.
right? So if you really want to see a perfect head and shoulders,
And,
you would
we'll-
actually look to
then we
get
take
short
off a
right
little
at
bit.
this
Let's get
retest of
one
104.40,
April.
and then you can have your stop up above the head. It's a 30-cent stop. It's just as likely to get hit as it is to not get hit. But you've got, you know, a whole $1 of price action just to retest, you know, the pivot there. And again, if it breaks there and everyone's watching those kinds of patterns, then
First day of the
selling
month of
begets
April.
selling.
So way out here, and
I'll go back to the
the
15. And you look at the 15-minute chart, and it doesn't look
first day of the month,
nearly as good to be short that thing, right? Like,
and then I'll have to go get.
it doesn't
April,
look like
first
a
day of
head
the
and
month.
shoulders at all anymore, does it?
Oh,
Right? So
come on, first day of the month.
Looking for a retest of yesterday's high, overnight high, and the
First day of every month.
RTH mid, and all of that sits between 64.69 to 64.72 ish.
And then we'll do the first day of April. We'll make that April. Come on. Right here. We'll do April, March, April. Come on.
Micro test of the RTH mid at we made a low of 72, 73. So coming in now, let's
First day of
discuss it for
April
him.
is
We already have the building blocks to kind of give us a good idea on direction,
first day of
right?
April's up
Now it's just about
67% of
where
the
do we
time.
engage, and does the
Up
trade make sense?
67% of the
I
time.
think that the
and down
rejection from
32%
yesterday's
of the
range
time.
and value
Let's see when that
are
is
a big tell.
on a Wednesday. So that's
I think
it's got
one
a
of the main
preponderance
problems
to
here
be
is
up
crude.
on a Wednesday. Let's see what it is.
definitely.
April
We're going to be
67%.
screwed, man.
up.
We're not going to get, you know, the VIX
Wednesday-
did a look above and
Wednesday,
fail
there's
of the early high. It's what you want to see there. I mean, we need the crude to come in. Even a, you know, even a, it just looks relentless right now. You know,
7 of those. As soon as I get this done, I'll do this here.
We had a nice spike in the put volume. I noticed. I picked this up off of X from Sugu Trades. We had that nice peak put volume. Now that could be two things though, right? That could be hedges being put on. Right, we saw that here, but they also mark lows. So hard to tell. Look, this was a low on the spike.
And that
This
is
spike here,
and
a
then
low.
off here.
Let's see
When the
what this
first day
spike,
is on
somewhat of a low.
Wednesday.
Right here, right here.
It's up 71% of the time. So I think the next couple of days have a pretty good shot at being up days.
So if we're going to
Especially if
continue to
oil
have
goes
a
down.
trend day, it should hold this level. This is a good
Yeah.
spot to
This-
hopefully be buying and getting long, and then you've got
Yeah.
plenty of
So I
room to
have
the
like-
upside to sell into.
So I will see you guys in a little while.
No, I'm with you, Rev.
Yeah, crude is the problem. What do you think? What do you think on what are your thoughts here on crude, Rev?
I think we should bring Rev in
Oh,
for
wait
a
a minute.
little tutorial. You want to come in and give us a some of your stuff about spreads and things? I'd be glad to stop talking for a while.
I don't know if we're going to gain much traction, man. Not with crude. Not with crude moving higher. I think the market wants to move higher, but it look at the 15-minute frame. It just pulled back. It tested that prior low and it printed a bullish outside 15-minute print, and it's moving higher. I don't think we're gonna be able to get much traction here on equities. I mean, maybe we chop around at highs and then that just turns into another mess. But I mean, we could have our range here, guys.
I think this R1 level with NQ is important, 445.
We can't get through that SPX 6445, 6585 to 6590. Let's see what this next low pivot brings us. We are now, let's see, we're now in the window. Expecting a low pivot in here anytime soon. Let's see if we can reclaim yesterday's high.
Hey, Manny.
Yeah.
Let's are you okay with having Rev come in and do a little presentation on the crude spreads?
Absolutely. Have them come on. Of course, the more the merrier.
That'd be sweet, Rev.
100%.
Can do
I don't
it.
know if he's willing to do that. I don't want to knock him
Yeah,
out of
he
his
said
day,
right.
but
He said right now is good.
yeah, let's do it, Rev. Come on in. 100%.
Here, I can stop sharing my screen.
Yep, sure. Take your time. I'll take what I can get. I'd love to get his Hey, it's all about exchanging ideas, guys. I'm endlessly fascinated with the way other guys see the market and how they trade it, and I probably have learned everything that I've learned from just being around another a good group of traders.
Yeah, likewise. I'm learning something new every day when I'm listening to you guys and reading different posts. And I think mostly for me, it really just helps me constantly question my opinions and not, it makes me stay more objective. So I can have my opinions, but when I trade really well, it's just because I'm very, objective about, oh, well, this is the setup, take it, your risk, setup is there, take it. And then it works or it doesn't. That's the flowing mindset. So I love the way it tested this upsloping moving average on my 15 minutes and has reacted positively, And so now if you weren't buying it right in there, oh, really? I thought he said he gave you permission.
Hang on, Rev. I wonder what Rev is gonna say, man, because we had this oil spike back in 2022. I think that was the Ukraine invasion. I don't know. I'll let him talk about it more, but I think that was Ukraine. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Waiting on getting the permission now, Rev.
I DM'd Marlon to see if he can help.
Great. Good stuff. Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh man, we'll let Rev talk about it, but my layman's view is that that was one country, Russia, going to war, and oil spiked to like what 127, and now we got the Strait of Hormuz closed. Like that's way more oil at risk. I don't know. We'll see. Luckily, we have guys like Rev around here that can come in and lend their thoughts. Real quick reading on the internals: 4.2 to 1 positive on the NYSE, 4 to 1 positive on the Nasdaq. I think we stalled out here, guys, for the reasons we highlighted. If crude stays to hang out in between that 104, 105 range, I think we're just going to chop around up here at highs. I think the market wants to move higher, but can't, right? So if you follow my logic here, right, it was kind of what we identified early on. Let me just get the chart up. Right, we were looking for price and time to develop structure and value above yesterday's high that would give us a sign for the market to lead into this hourly counter trend rally. And what we were looking at as a sign that thesis was no longer on the table was if we came back into yesterday's range and value, right? If we came up here, looked above, hang on, let me get the right crayon here. If we came back above yesterday's high, right? Tried to get it to stick like we have been last week, and it failed, and then we came back up here into yesterday's range, and then any attempt to break out of the range was rejected, right? Then we think, okay, continuation lower is the theme, but we didn't see that. We went right into we tested value area high, dipped into yesterday's range, and immediately spiked higher, Simultaneously, though, crude sharded on the party. Yeah, so if you're listening, I read your email and your DM. I'm gonna reach out as soon as I get off. Hang tight. That just saved me that email in the DM. Still looking for that gap fill here. Let's see, where's that gap fill? Yeah, 65.17. That would be the target if we can get into this gap. Man, but looking at this hourly chart, bro, here, this 2 hour chart, I can't help but to think, of the trend guy, right? Like this is an asymmetric opportunity right here, right? Sell one here, right? Bet on the gap not filling, and what are you risking there? If you're risking 10, 12, right? And you're risking the breakout, but if not, look at your reward. It's new lows, or at least to here first scale. That's something to think about for sure. What would that first? Ideally, you get today's gap, 63.95. So you're talking about, Jesus, almost a 70-point trade. What do I be risking on that? So let's just say I entered right here at 64.76. Where am I wrong? I'm wrong about 10 points above today's high, right? 64.76. Today's high is 64.97, so 65.06. I'm risking 30 points to make a potential 70. What are the probabilities of that being successful? Well, my MACD is confirmed. RSI is bouncing. Hey, Rev.
Nice.
Welcome to the party. Shit, that might be worth it. Might be worth maybe 5 micros or something. Risk 30 points on 5 micros. Why not?
Can you hear us, Rev?
I have not heard him, other than when he said hello. 30.
Cyprus Energy Minister confirming that EU ministers today said supply remains relatively safeguarded from the Iran war impact. We saw similar from a European spokesperson this morning.
It's $150. No way. On 1 micro.
Let me share this.
So that's a $750 risk.
You guys there?
Yeah.
We are here. Welcome to the show. Can you hear us, Rev?
Oh, I can't hear you guys.
You cannot. So check, Rev, check your media tray.
So up here, this media tray.
More
Okay.
from the Cyprus Energy Minister. He says
you
the EU
guys say
minister said
something? I
that
can't hear
stronger
anything.
coordination was needed
Test
at the
1,
EU
2,
level
Rev.
on gas storage
Testing,
to
Rev.
avoid causing price spikes.
ability to hear us?
Yep, I can hear you. So right here.
Okay, is that better?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
I thought I just heard somebody say something.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Hang on. Sorry, guys. Okay, hang on, Bo. Yeah, Manny and Bo are green,
Okay, can you hear me now?
but I am grayed out.
Try. Check 1, 2, check, check, check. Yeah.
Turn Manny and Bo off and on.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. You guys
See if
are
that
ugly. You guys are handsome. Did that work?
Do you hear
That'll
me
work.
now?
EU
There we
Energy
go.
Commissioner
Now I hear you.
Robinson says
Perfect.
the Iran war has added 14 billion euros to the EU
You say
fossil
something again,
fuel
man?
import bill so far.
I liked when you called me handsome.
Okay, good. Okay, so you can hear me now. What about Bo?
Yeah, I can hear you.
See there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Why can't I hear him?
We see tightening in the diesel and jet fuel markets.
Okay, Bo, you there?
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
I'm
there.
here.
Okay, I can hear you now. All right,
Oh,
cool. Yeah, I had to, like you guys said, I had to turn you on and off. So we're good now?
Yes.
All right. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
No.
I'm a trader, not an expert at media, I guess.
The energy consequences of the Iran war
So,
will not be
say any of this stuff, but the inventory draws that are coming, this reminds me of the inverse of during COVID. I don't know if you guys remember,
says
but
EU
there
member
was like a
states highlighted the
flotilla
need for caution
of,
in the use of strategic oil reserves.
that came
So
over
the
from the
EU
Middle
must
East.
avoid fragmented national
You know, just
responses.
loaded with crude
Measures
and
must be
dumped it
targeted
all
and
on the
temporary.
US to try and drown out all of the shale guys. And that compounded with the demand destruction from, you know, from COVID. Well, that was the day we saw the magic minus $37 a barrel. So
Right.
what I see happening right now is kind of the inverse of that, where when that flotilla was coming over, nobody could really conceive of that much oil coming. But right now, all the boats that, you know, that we're loading up and we're going all over the world, you know, are now arriving at the ports. It takes anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes 3, but you know, just obviously just
The
depending on the
EU will
distance
present
and the
a
route,
toolbox of
whether
measures soon to
you know,
shield consumers and
waiting at
businesses.
ports and all the rest of that kind of good stuff. But all those boats are now unloading basically. So that's why we haven't seen these huge inventory draws that everybody's like, well, if there's no oil, then why don't we see inventory draws? Well, there's a latency between the time a boat fills up and it sails and then it unloads, and then there's another week or two depending on when customs records it, when when the EIA, for example, in the US records it, and they play little games like that. They swear they don't, but they do. And right now,
In 10 minutes,
we're sort of
time,
getting
Chicago Fed
the
President
last
Austin
of those
Goolsbee will
deliveries
be speaking
before
on human capital
the
in a
Gulf
time of
shut
low real
down.
rates.
And
We
so
posted a live
once
link to
that
this on our news
stops,
feed.
I think we're going to see inventories fall off a cliff. And much like the flotilla that was coming across in, I think it was
And also
2020,
in
right
10
after
minutes
COVID,
time, we get some data from the US
where people
Department
just
of
couldn't get their
Agriculture.
heads around how much oil was
Prospective
about to be
plantings for
dumped on the
2026.
US. It's going the other
For
way now,
corn,
where I think
we're
people
expecting
can't quite grasp
94.5
how
million
huge
acres
the shortage
versus
is
last
going
year's
to be.
95.3
I mean,
to
so
6.
to your point earlier, man, you were
For
saying
cotton,
about
we're
Russia.
expecting
When
9.11
they
million
invaded
acres
Ukraine,
versus
the
last
big
year's
thing was is that, okay, they're
9.867.
going to get cut off from the
For
Swiss
soy,
system,
we're
the
expecting
the monetary
85.57
system,
million
which means they won't be
versus
able to
last year's
transact, and it's gonna take 3.5
And for
million
wheat,
barrels
we're
a day
expecting
offline.
44.6
Well, that
million
never
acres
actually
versus
happened.
last year's
And then on top of that, they did
45.35.
the SPR release, which, and they were successful. They got prices down.
We'll
But
also be getting the US
that
quarterly
3.5
grain
million
stocks
barrels
figures.
never actually came to pass. And we spiked, I think, to 122.
March readings for corn, we're expecting 9.1
Anyway,
billion bushels.
Here we've had
Last
somewhere between 8 and
previous had
12 million a day
13.28
now for
billion.
a month
For
come
soy, we're
offline.
expecting 2.1
And the thing
billion
is
versus
that when
previous
you
3.29. And
like,
for wheat, we're expecting 1.31
when you don't have
billion
boats that
bushels
are
versus the
or
previous
pipelines or some sort of
1.68 billion.
egress mechanism, then they start diverting it into storage tanks. And when the storage tanks fill up, they have no choice but to shut in production, which literally means, shutting the well down. The problem with that is that usually you have to do that very quickly, and that was the case this time. And just like your car, I mean, if you just park your car in the middle of the desert and leave it there for a month, it's designed to move fairly regularly. It's not designed to just sit there. So you get corrosion, you get seals conking out, you get, computers not working right. And this is for the stuff that shut down and didn't get blown up. So you can't just fire this stuff up if you leave it offline for months at a time. The other thing is that, without getting into a big geological engineering thing, but the reservoirs underground,
CNBC reporting that software
they're
maker
used
Oracle
to a
has started
certain
telling
flow rate
employees
and
it's conducting
pressures,
a round of
and
layoffs.
and there's more than just
Could
crude
be in the
oil that comes out of
thousands.
a crude oil well. There's all kinds of other gunk that comes out of there. But you actually end up doing permanent damage in many cases to the maximum flow rates of underwater reservoir or underground reservoirs. And so even if the Strait opened tomorrow, I mean, Kuwait they've already said they're up to 4 months if it opened tomorrow to get going again. Iraq is, they're 80 or 90% offline and shut in, and on and on and on. And, Saudi Arabia is going to the Red Sea right now. But the problem with that is that it's on one pipeline. Iran knows that. And all they have to do is send one of their little drone squads to that pipeline. And that ends that fantasy. And even though they can ship 5 to 7 million barrels a day east to west, they can't load boats that fast in the Red Sea. So there's a choke point bottleneck there. So, like we have, just because we haven't felt the effects of it, it's kind of like, it's kind of like kissing Danny right now with RSV. You won't get sick right away, but the but the reaction has started. You'll feel it in a few days, and that's kind of the window that we're in right now.
So, Rev, if I'm hearing this correctly, so you think help me to understand it. You're saying that the effects on the ability to get oil to market is not as simple as just reopening the Strait.
No, not at this point. No, it's kind of like COVID with the supply chain stuff. If we had just shut everything down and told everyone to stay home for a couple of weeks, fine. Everyone goes on vacation. We come back in a week, a couple of weeks or months, or a couple of weeks or a month, and we get back at it. But when you're talking shut down for a month or two at a time, you don't just start up again, right? Like there's a Constantine effect that happened. Like there's a knock-on effect, right? And that's where we're at right now, is that even if the strait opened up right now, you've already got boats that are in there that have to get out. You've got a giant backlog of boats that have to get in there. And remember, we're talking a 2-mile wide shipping lane. Like it's not like it's a little bit like a subway. You being from New York, Manny, I mean, not everybody can get on the subway at once, and everyone can get off the subway at once, right? And by the way, that reminds me of another thing I wanted to say, which is that, I keep seeing them, job, and I understand why they're doing. Believe it or not, I'm not a big fan of Trump, but they are doing the right thing by trying to keep a lid on energy prices. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem with that is that you've got this false sense of security as a result, and you've got these false pullbacks that get answered with a giant rip higher each time, because the laws of physics can't be jawboned away. And so there was a point I was going to make. I just lost it, and it was a really juicy one.
Take your time. No, take your time.
Yeah, is that they keep talking about, now there were 6 boats that went through the Strait of Hormuz. The problem is they're all going east. They're all leaving the Gulf. There's very little traffic going in. So even if you wanted to start shipping again, those boats still have to get into the Gulf, and that's not going to happen until, number one, sailors feel safe. Number two, insurance companies feel safe. And we all know how quick insurance companies are to assume risk. It's not over by a long way.
3 minutes to Chicago.
I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. Do I think that there could be some epic, sweeps to blow out the tourists that are just piling in long? Sure.
So 3 minutes also to the
right?
U.S. Department of Agriculture figures.
But it's just one of those,
we're expecting 94.5.
Yeah, Mag, exactly what you're saying. Like
9.11 million
the
acres.
Arab oil embargo
Soy,
75.7
million
compared
acres.
to this.
Like for wheat, 44.6 million acres.
And not only that, it's not just oil. Then it was an oil embargo where all they had to do was just start filling up boats going to the U.S. again. That isn't the case. You've got, like you were saying, or I think T-Bone was saying earlier about, you made a little joke that the politicians are helping to limit the fertilizer shortage by spreading it a lot.
It's funny. That's funny.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
So that, like, it's just a big blanking problem, and because it's not just energy, it's all of these inputs. In fact, a friend of mine who owns an auto parts company, a really big one, they make a lot of their stuff in Taiwan, and their manufacturer is having a hard time shipping stuff again. But not only that, they're having a hard time making it in the first place. It's a lot of plastics and resin type stuff, because they can't get the base materials, some of which come from the Middle East. So of course you say, okay, fine, you can't get it from one place, go get it another. Well, guess what? There's already a huge lineup at that door that's already formed. Number one, these people have contracts, right? It's not a food truck that just shows up to sell these materials and says, hey, who wants it today? It's not a fish market, there are contracts. They can't just, and like any business, nobody runs with 50% slack in case somebody shows up saying, hey, I want to buy some stuff today. It doesn't work like that. It's not as elastic as we need it to be. So, like, I think it's, I was talking to a friend last night about this, and I said, the problem is that it's not good, but it's not quite bad enough to force, everybody to do what they need to do. Now, I am not going to even attempt to outsmart the U.S. military or the Israeli military or the
EU
Iranian
Energy
military
Commissioner
or any
says
other
the upcoming
military.
EU
I can't even
toolbox will
outsmart
include
my 9-pound
proposals
dog.
on lowering
But
tax rates
The
for
thing is
electricity
that,
and grid tariffs.
you know, I just, you see the and they don't seem to be turning it around. I mean, these, you know, I forget who I heard say it the other night. It was a great line, but you know, the Marines and the special ops aren't peacekeeping, you know, units. They're fighting units. Dare you? I mean, by the time they're deployed, the decision's already made. So, you know, I really hope, and I will love being wrong about this. I hope I am dead ass wrong and don't know about, because I was on here telling everybody start selling it, like start selling oil quick, you know, and you
I
know,
remember. Yeah.
and a bunch of guys thought I was cooking with aluminum pots. And but it's not a work of art. It's you know, that call, it's that's what happens every time. You know, May of 2022, 2020, you know, when the bottom hit, the Gulf War in 91, I mean, and on and on and on. We all know how blow off tops work. You know, look at silver. I mean, just you know, a couple of months ago, I was selling silver, and again, that was one of those things where everyone's like, "But don't you understand this and understand that?" It's like, yeah, but I also understand charts, and the odds favor this. Well, the thing is that there are some times where there are limitations in charts, right? And you know, if you understand the energy complex, this is one of those times. And again, I would love to be wrong because it means the world will be okay. You know, and it will be one way or the other. I mean, we
quarterly
always
corn
find
stocks
a way
at 9.024 billion bushels.
but I, you know, but I think that
expected.
that there is this false
Soybean,
sense of security
2.105
that,
billion
you know,
versus
oh,
2.10
well, you know,
expected.
$100,
And for
$105,
wheat,
we can handle
1.3
that, which we
billion
can.
versus
We handled it
1.31
through
billion expected.
2010 all the way to 2014. I mean, oil was above $100 pretty much the whole way, and that was 10 years ago. By the way, I just did the quick math. I said earlier that I really do think at some point we're going to see a new all-time high through this, and the all-time high was 147, I think, in July of 08. Inflation adjusted, that's 225. So,
Jeez.
yeah, it's like, you know, you got to remember also with natural gas, like 20% of the Gulf natural gas supply is gone for 3 to 5 years. And that's assuming that the people who own that stuff, looking at you, Qatar, are eager to hurry up and spend another 35 billion rebuilding it as fast as they can without any idea how they're going to protect it next time, right? So, you know, so it's just uglier than a gorilla's armpit. And, you know, you know, and I'm not happy about it at all. Like, you know, I always enjoy shorting oil more than being long oil because it's good for the economy. I mean, cheap energy is what the global economy relies on. So,
Right.
So in short, and I'll shut up for a minute and give you guys the conch back, is that I think, you know, we all know, just, you know, I was listening to you a little earlier, Manny, and you're absolutely right. I like, Manny, you can tell you're a baseball coach, and I have, you know, I can't tell the difference between a cutter and a knuckler, but I have a pretty good idea that you're a good coach. And some of the comments that you made about trading, where anything can happen, and, you know, being a genius, thinking you know what's going to happen next, is the great banana peel. That is for sure the case. But like, I am just grasping at straws to figure out, how do you replace 12 freaking million barrels a day? I can, you know, like, it's just, it's not there.
Yeah, but so what happens is, I mean, the way it gets replaced is with higher prices, because you know, now we had the situation when oil was in the 50s, where the big players weren't even wanting to do anything down in Texas because
They couldn't afford to.
they couldn't, because their break even was like $62.
Yeah,
And
well,
so
there's another
cut down, and so now, you know, so the supply demand part of it does bring things back by, you know, like it is a lot quicker than it used to be to bring wells online in these shale plays, and when they come online, they, you know, their big production is right away in the beginning 6 months or whatever before they start drastically depleting.
Yeah, they're like
so-
champagne bottles. They have
Yeah.
they have big pop, lots of decline. One thing, Boz, just to say, just to jump in if you don't mind, it's a really, really important point you made, is that yes, they can spin stuff up faster, and yes, they are way more efficient now. They're, you know, at getting it out of the ground, but the U.S. doesn't have the tier one, you know, the juicy, you know,
Use Jorgensen says we'll order
reserves
also
that it
consider
has.
measures
Like they're into
windfall
tier
tax
2 and tier
demand
3 stuff
cuts.
now, which isn't as prolific and it's more expensive. You know, there's a reason why, like, you know, to your point, there's a reason why they didn't just go and drill, baby, drill. They can't afford to. And the other thing is they've also got things like covenants on this stuff, right? Like a lot of them, their balance sheets are better than they used to be, but you can't go drilling your brains out if it's not economic. Otherwise, the people that loan you money tap you on the shoulder and go, yeah, all that money that I lent you, you're on the wrong side of your covenant. I want it back now. And by the way, I'm all 20% equity. So it's not just as simple as, you know, whipping out your napkin and saying it cost me $40 to produce a barrel, I can sell it 50. Cool, I make $10. If it was that simple, you know, that'd be great. But it's more complicated than that.
Yeah. Well, I do just remind it that dynamic changes so quickly that you know, now it's like everyone's doing everything they can to secure leases and line up rigs and fracking crews and
Jorgensen
everything
says we
else.
stand by our ban on
And to
buying
your point
Russian
again,
gas.
like that stuff doesn't just come back online quickly. Like when you
Well,
have a depressed situation for a while, you have riggers, for instance, that go and do something else, you know, and once you've left the patch, like, do you really want to go back, you know? So
you can go back, but they have to lure you. A good friend of mine's a directional driller, and he says,
Right.
yeah, he's phoning up his old posse of guys, one selling, you know, used Porsches, another guy is a plumber, and you
right,
know,
but it takes some time,
really,
right?
yeah, we'll come back for 40% more than we left.
Right, but it's also, to your point, it doesn't happen right away. Like it, you know, so those kinds of labor effects can take some time to play out too. And so, you know, I think personally, it's similar with like green energy kind of scenarios. It's like, yeah, we're not going to really develop excellent green energy stuff until oil's trading at like $300, you know, when it actually is meaningful to the globe that things are really running out and that we're, you know, it's like, and if oil's going to go back down and trade at $60 for a long time, then what's the point in developing green energy, you know?
And that's exactly it, is that the Middle East has done such a good job and put all the shale companies out of business. That really took the starch out of everybody for borrowing, kind of, sort of, that you would basically, you know, mortgage 70% of it, and then you'd go to the stock market for, like, capital markets for 20. That's kind of how you would set it up back in the day. Well, you can't. And so you know, nobody, especially now when people worry that you could get the rug pulled, because what happened was the Saudis were always the swing producer, right? If there was too much oil out there, too much supply, they would throttle back because they are the one country that can, for the most part, just turn the taps on and off and up and down and all around. You know, that they can do that. And they've always been sort of the swing producer to support oil prices when they got too low, but also to keep a lid on them when they got too high. If price, to your point earlier, if oil prices go too high, well, then what happens? People start looking at hydrogen, they start looking at electric cars, they start looking at all this other stuff, and it lowers the structural demand for oil, or at least that's the theory. It is yet to proven out yet. And by the way, other than whale oil, there is not one source of energy in human history that has actually gone down over time. Even coal is still going up.
Wow, that's
so
interesting.
yeah, it's true. Well, we're using more oil today than we ever have. We're at 105, 106 million barrels a day, right? And you know, in 2020, Kathy Wood, I saw somebody repost a tweet from 2020 saying, "This is peak oil." $12.
USDA.
EVs are taking over, and that's that. Well,
Corn.
forget it. You're
7
talking
million
100
acres,
plus
4%
years
from
of the
last
car
year.
industry, just alone
Wheat is
on
estimated at
cars
43.8
and supply
million
chains and all the rest
acres,
of that
down
to
3%
develop,
from
and they're very
last year.
efficient now, you know, by
And
necessity.
cotton estimated at
And you don't just all of a
9.64
sudden
million
say,
acres, up
okay,
4%
well,
from last year.
we want, 50 million EVs a year, or however many cars we buy in a year globally. It just, we all know it doesn't work like that. So anyhow, so what they did was in the early 2010s, when the shale revolution started with directional drilling and all the rest of it, the Saudis kept lowering production to support the price. And then what that would do is invite more shale players in because they could make a ton of money at it. So they would lower production. Really what it was that they were losing market share in order to support the price of oil so that American companies could go and drill their brains out. And, and they got tired of that after a few years and said, all right, you want to compete? Let's compete. And then they flooded the market with oil and put a lot of them out of business. And there was mass consolidation and all the rest of it. So that's why people don't want to invest in it anymore, because it doesn't take genius. It takes eyesight. Just look at, the 20-year or 30-year crude chart. It's filled with spikes and precipitous drops. I mean,
Right.
who wants to be on the rug pull side when you've got billions of dollars of capital tied up?
Right.
Wow, that's interesting. So I wish you had better news for sure.
Yeah, well, you know what though? Well, the cure for, it's an old cliche, so forgive me, but but the cure for high oil prices is high oil prices, right? And conversely, the cure for low oil prices is low oil prices. It's, when the price of oil goes bananas, all these enterprising entrepreneurs get the fever, whether it's in the US or it's in Guyana or in any of these other places. And they start producing, and that's what happens every time. It forces supply out of the woodwork. The issue is the places where there is oil, with the exception of Canada, but Canada only really has heavy oil. It doesn't have the lighter stuff. They're all politically unstable, and and this is what happened in Venezuela. Is that Conoco was the worst. They went in there, put $12 billion into building infrastructure. And then in 2007, I think it was, Hugo Chavez, when oil prices were going crazy, he woke up one day and said, you know what, we're nationalizing the oil business. And you guys get out of the country in 24 hours and I'll let you do it alive. Otherwise, and you can leave all your toys here, by the way, they're mine now. And obviously Chevron, Exxon, and I think it was Chevron, Conoco, and Exxon. I mean, they got smoked, and in fact, they got awarded. Conoco was $12 billion. I know that one for sure. In by the, World Trade Arbitration people. I forget, who it was that awarded them that, but it's like, cool, go collect, best of luck with that. And so that's why they're so gun shy about going back into Venezuela. And I think it was Harold Hamm, if I'm not mistaken, during that, presser that Trump did, the one where he walked over the window and looked out the window and see the beautiful ballroom that's not there. In that meeting, he said Venezuela is uninvestable, and that really angered the administration, because they were trying to say, hey, we're trying to promote, you guys are all going in there, everything going to be fine, we're going to get lots of oil out of Venezuela. Another little known fact about Venezuela is everybody says that, well, Venezuela says they've got the world's largest crude reserves. They were 8th in the world. And then Chavez one day said, hey, look at this, we found all this other oil, and self-declared that they were number 1. So you got to take what these, estimated reserves are with a giant, because, there's a lot of BS about it. A lot of the oil companies, like a lot of the producing companies, they overstated their proven reserves, their air quote, the value of those reserves, right? And so, so there's a lot. I see your message.
Yep.
That it's just like somebody, it's fraud 101, right? You go to get a mortgage for a house that's worth $1 million. You say it's worth $5 million. Well, like, everyone's heard of that scheme. I mean, companies do it all the time by inflating their asset values, right? So, or they try to. Now, who knows? I have no proof that they do this, so don't sue me if I'm wrong about this. I reserve the right to be wrong, as always, but it is, there's just a lot, and I am like with 2 pairs of binoculars, one in front of the other, showing you where the tip of the iceberg is. There's way more of that. And, and as you can see, I mean, the market responds to it, right? I mean, we see tweets by Iran, by everybody, that send the price of crude up or down 10 or 20% in a matter of 10 minutes. I mean, it works, right? I mean, it's, for a minute it works, but at the end of the day, you can't tweet away or headline away molecules. They're either there or they're not. Right. And that's what, so to bring this to a point, that's what I'm really worried about, is that, now that the last of the boats that left the Middle East are, hitting ports and unloading, it's cool. There's a big vacuum behind them. And once we actually see, and start to believe that the inventories are falling, because right now it's theoretical, right? Because the boats are still on the water, or have been.